Ku Klux Klan, the desire for white supremacy. In 1866, 6 ex-Confederate soldiers formed a group whose desire was to promote a white supremacy. The Ku Klux Klan's original intent was to take away African American rights, but in the end they were responsible for bringing black rights to the attention of American citizens, giving the African Americans more rights. 1 year after the Civil War was over, the Klan was started. The Confederates thought that blacks or any other race were not equal to them. They did not want that to change. So when the Confederates lost the Civil War, they were not happy about it. When they returned to the fact that blacks were free, that made them angry. They had never before been equal or close to equal with anyone that was not white. They needed a way to take out their anger on the African Americans with other whites who felt the same way about blacks as they did. This all started with the ex-Confederates. They had to do what was called swallowing the dog. They had to say that they would treat everyone the same and that they would not put harm to anyone. 6 of those ex-Confederates did not like that. They decided to make a group to keep the blacks in their place called the Ku Klux Klan. The name Ku Klux Klan originates from the word kuklos, which means circle or band in Greek. They chose the word kuklos because they thought they were a band or white brothers stopping blacks. They added clan, which is Scottish and means family. They thought they were a white family or band or circle stopping blacks. It started as a group that was just used to scare blacks. The Ku Klux Klan, KKK, would ride horses around areas with large populations of African Americans, with burlap sacks on their heads to conceal their identity. As the Klan evolved and attracted more members, they switched to white robes and hoods to emphasize the white supremacy. When they first wore the white robes and hoods, they were playing a joke, pretending to be ghosts, but soon the joking stopped. It turned very violent and people started dying. The Klan not only hurt the blacks, but took their rights from them. The blacks had a right to vote, but the Ku Klux Klan stopped most of them from getting anywhere near the voting booths. It was their responsibility to make sure that the blacks were not going to vote. The Klan was said to have committed more crimes than the previous hate groups in the U.S. The Klan bombed churches, knowing that only African Americans were inside, just to kill 4 young girls. The Klan was said to have killed them by dragging blacks or black supporters from their homes to whip, shoot, beat, or even hang them. They did this most often to adults in front of their children, and after they were finished with the adults, they beat the kids in front of their parents. The sheriffs in the towns where the Klan thrived most usually were afraid of the Ku Klux Klan or with them. Some of them were even in the Klan. When the African Americans were found dead or injured, they were either too afraid to do anything about it, or they just didn't care at all. Many of the times this happened, whites would celebrate when several African Americans were killed at once. These celebrations were almost exactly like meetings or ceremonies. At these meetings, they usually had a burning cross, which was a symbol of the Christian faith, and fear or intimidation as the fire. At these meetings, they discussed ways to show that they don't stand for hate and that they are only trying to show their love for our country. They also discussed how to get others to join the Klan.
When the Klan came back out at that given point, it was actually more so about the immigration that was coming into the country and that the government wasn't trying to regulate anything.
But we had
then.
legal racial segregation at that point.
Yes, we did.
We don't anymore.
No, we don't have any legal segregation, but look at some of what's taking place in our country at this given time. The Klan is no longer, every aspect of the Klan has been born. It has had a goal or a meaning for what it was to do. Right. In the beginning, it was about trying to stop the Reconstruction of the South. During Joseph Simmons' period, when he came back out, it was to make the government do something that it was not doing. In the 1960s, the Klan got a very bad name. Now, if you go past the 60s back into the 1920s, there were over 4 million Americans back then that were actually Klan members. There was doctors, lawyers,
it was a big deal, particularly across the South.
We even had one United States president in our Klan book.
The Ku Klux Klan was not one big Klan throughout the South. It was separated into individual clans. Most states in the South had about 3 to 5 clans in the state. At least once a year, these clans would get together and have one big meeting. Although there are many separate clans, there was always just one imperial wizard. The wizards, or the highest-ranked clansmen, were mostly in charge. Some would keep the Klan strong, and others would stop it so no one would be known. but they all had something in common. They all wanted to take away the rights of blacks. They succeeded for a period of time. The Klan was abolished many times, but it was always revived. Every time the Klan was revived, it came back with renewed energy. Whenever they were revived, they would try harder to deny black rights. They would go out of their way to ruin an African American's day. A while after one of the Klans was revived, they went after a congregation of African Americans. Before the service, a few Klan members planted a bomb in the basement of the church. In that basement was 5 young girls: Addie Mae Collins, 14, Cynthia Wesley, 14, Carol Robertson, 14, and Denise McNair, 11, all of which were killed. Sister of Addie Mae Collins, Sarah Collins Rudolph, 12, lost her right eye in the blast. After this bombing, the Ku Klux Klan was brought to the attention of America. The majority of the country was disgusted they would do this. This was the act that brought the rights of African Americans to the attention of America. Although the government was avoiding their responsibility of promoting equality for so many years, they were finally being questioned. Even though they did nothing, the people of the country stood up and tried to put a stop to it. This was the time of Martin Luther King Jr. The Ku Klux Klan sent a man to kill Martin Luther King Jr. They didn't want anyone to know that they were the ones to kill him, so they paid him off to kill him. It took about 7 years after the incident until blacks were finally equal to the white man. Almost. Today, there is still discrimination among the races. It's just not as noticeable. They still want a white supremacy, but there are so many laws against them and so many more people to enforce the laws that they won't take another step. If it wasn't for such a great government today, we would be in those dark days again, and we wouldn't be a very good country. Many people believe that the Ku Klux Klan was only in the South. The Ku Klux Klan started in the South but grew popular and spread through the whole country. The Ku Klux Klan left its mark on the entire country. The Klan was in all of America, but places like Iowa and Minnesota had one, if any, clans. Even if a state didn't have a Klan in it, everyone in the state knew about them or of them. The reason that so many clans were in the South was because of the African American population. Most African Americans stayed in the South because they didn't have any money to move up north. The Ku Klux Klan left a big mark on the world. Most people today don't know that they still exist around the world. They do, though. Some people that were once in the KKK realized that what they do and did was wrong. Some of them see that blacks are just like them. Others, on the other hand, think that still today that no other race should have equal rights as the whites. Some of the Klan members still want a white supremacy. The responsibilities of the Grand Wizard and high-ranked Klansmen is different now. It used to be that they were responsible for making sure that no blacks get in their way. Now they're supposed to be making sure that no harm comes to them. If something does go wrong in the Klan, like an African American was killed or hurt by them, instead of getting away with it, they would be put in jail or have to pay bail. Most of the KKK members that are in the Klan today are afraid of getting caught or worse. They think that it has gotten a lot worse with blacks getting more rights because they haven't been enforcing their rules or laws to keep them in place. They can't do anything about it now because there are so many people to enforce the laws. They have affected the way that some people live today. The African Americans in the South are a lot more cautious and knowing of their surroundings. The Klan has been affected as well. The Ku Klux Klan made a new Klan, the IKA, Imperial Klans of America. The IKA has a headquarters in Dawson Springs, Kentucky. Even though the IKA and the Ku Klux Klan know not to attack other races in public, 3 IKA members attacked a Mexican American after he was arguing with his white girlfriend. The 3 members were put in jail. Because of these changes that happened to the other races' rights caused by our government, the IKA members and the KKK members can't get away with what they could so long ago. Before the KKK was brought to the attention of America, it was our government's responsibility, the African Americans' right, to be protected by the enforcers of the law.